Jeff Holmes is one of the best coaches in the state, and he is, as I told our players, they are as good every year. They are as good as any team we face in terms of adjusting and changing from possession to possession, let alone quarter to quarter or game to game. So there might be 5 possessions in a row where we see 5 different defenses. He's got his kids coached up that well, not to mention they're really good. They have 2 all-state caliber kids plus a bunch of other kids who know how to play. They have shooters up and down the lineup. They're big. I was surprised when they walked in the gym that first night, because you see them on film, it's a different story. And seemingly no one puts heights on programs or rosters anymore. I got to look into that. Maybe I'm behind the curve. But we know, what the heck, it's the 4-5 game. Of course it's going to be a great game.
Always confident in winning, and especially in that stage on our floor. And yeah, it was a little different being at 2 o'clock and you got the glare coming through behind the first half rim, but it didn't make a difference. And
definitely like a little awkward just because of the time. Like we got there at like 10:30 for breakfast and then till like 11:30, and then I just hung around, shot around until tip-off time. So definitely weird.
It's like a tournament game, trying to get whatever routine we can that is as normal as possible for a non-school day. When it's a school day, it's easy. But again, if you have a 7 o'clock game on a Saturday and you're sitting around waiting all day long, I think that just builds the anxiety, builds the tension, the anxiousness, all of that. So a 2 o'clock game time, we brought the kids in for breakfast, had a good time with that. They came in a couple hours early, got some shooting in, went through the same routine, albeit a few hours earlier, as we had done previously on the Wednesday for the prelim game. So we felt good about that.
They started off in just man-to-man defense, and we got up early on them. And then they went to that box and won in the second quarter, I think. In the first game, we were very stagnant, and it didn't seem like Exeter knew as much as what they were doing. And then we obviously beat it up pretty good in the second half as well. And I had a good game myself. I got open looks, but the game, quarterfinal game, it was a lot just like they kind of gave it like a little it was like a 2-1-1 look at like the free throw line. The elbow kind of extended, so it was more packed in. It was a lot harder to attack gaps and just make plays for all of us. And you could tell they were very prepared for it, and that's what they've been doing for the past, I don't know, probably.
They played the box and one again, but the style of defense was a little different. They weren't like so set in their zones. They were kind of like, it was kind of like man and box and one at the same time. But just this time we weren't hitting as much shots as we did the previous game, and they definitely were making a lot of their shots.
We had seen them less than 2 weeks before, and what they did wasn't tactically that much different from the previous game. I think they were much more physical, certainly clean, nothing dirty about that. They full out face guarded Josh, and it was slightly different. The tactic or the setup of the zone with the other four players, I think, was a little different. And at first, we were hesitant. We weren't sure exactly what to do. So that early on, that made a big difference. And we didn't find our footing. It took us a while. I think we were down 8-2 or 10-2 when I called that first timeout. So it wasn't a drastic change, just subtle enough. And we missed a couple shots early, and I think that snowballed a little bit. But we eventually found our footing and hung around when we weren't playing our best basketball. is run, especially in our gym. And that was our game plan, and that was our goal. I think Exeter took that away, but there were a couple of opportunities where we could have pushed the ball a little more, and the guys know this, when we attack, even when it's with a dribble, and we had several guys who could break people down off the dribble and get to the paint. We're a much different team. We were content for a couple possessions just to stand on the perimeter, and I think that took away the force in which we often play, especially in transition. So if we just get one or two more breakouts, one or two more times getting to the middle, getting downhill, that may have changed things.
Transition, we got out and ran, and then we went up one, they called a timeout, and then I think they went an 11-0 run. Never got back into rhythm after they started. Just, I mean, McNeff, Greco, they were killing us. The Ream kid, 22, was just hitting a ton of threes and kind of took the air out of the building after we made that big run. And it was tough to get anything after
yourself
that.
like making a run like second half, go up by 1, and then they just go on like a little run of their own. It's like demoralizing because it feels like that was your like big punch, and then they countered it pretty easily, and then they just went on a run.
It was the blink of an eye. It was surprising how quickly it happened. I remember calling a timeout, I think when it got to 8, trying to settle the guys down, and they kept their composure. It's just, sometimes it's as simple as we didn't play our best and Exeter played very well. And when we made that run and the 5-point halftime lead, we took a lead. I think on 2 separate occasions. I think it went back and forth for about 3 possessions. And then they went on that run. They made a couple tough shots watching the film, a couple deep threes with hands and face. There's not much more I can ask of our guys. We had a couple tough turnovers. It was a stretch of about 2 minutes where we didn't do many things well, and they did, including making some big shots.
One thing we didn't do is we didn't continue running. As you saw in the first half, we didn't run at all. We were down 5. We come out, have a strong first 5 minutes of the third quarter, and we were off and running, and then we stopped, and then they went off and running. So
We were giving it all. A lot of the shots, they were just hitting like tough shots, like hand in our face, like what we've been making a lot of the year. But that's how it fell, and they got what we usually get. So it kind of sucks to be on the other side of that.
I think by that point, we knew what they were doing. They didn't change too much. They would go back and forth between the diamond and one, if you will, and then a zone. And we were accustomed to that. We got good looks. It's just one of those days we didn't make a lot of shots, and that just happens. So I applaud our guys we stayed with that game plan, and they executed quite well. It's just that once that run happened, it's not as if we gave up. They would never do that. But for us to score 44 points, that was the most surprising thing. The kids' effort was there. We certainly fought the entire way through. It was just, sometimes you feel like you're running in mud, and that's not our game. And for us not to be able to have that burst of an 8 to 10 point run in a matter of 2 minutes, that's rare for us. So we continue to fight, just never had that spurt we're so accustomed to.
like start pressing like our trap, it kind of felt like it was a little too late. Because like in the fourth quarter, like you have the mindset where it's like it's close enough to make this a game, but then like our offense was stagnant, couldn't hit any open shots, and they were making everything still. So that's kind of how I knew when it was over.
It was like reachable to start the fourth quarter. I think it was like 10. Yeah, we can score 10 points in 2 minutes. So it was like, yeah. And then it kept just getting tougher and tougher and tougher. And I think it was about like probably like the 4-minute mark, and it was like 13. And they were at the free throw line. And I just kind of looked up at the scoreboard, and I was like, that's when it really like, damn, like it's gonna be. I don't know if we can do it now, but obviously still have confidence. But it was like, this might be the end.
Because of my demeanor that people consider me to be stoic or whatnot. That was as tough a moment as I've had. Certainly, I was fighting back tears at that moment. I don't want to speak for Josh, but I think he was as well. That's when you have a player, forget how good Josh Crusoe is. He's a better person. Cliche or not, he is a better human being than he is a basketball player. And the effort he put in, and myself included, I don't think anyone worked as hard for this program than Josh ever. So to know that was his last moment in our gym, wearing that uniform, playing for Nashua South, that was very, very tough to take, especially knowing the what ifs. Could we have moved on and played in the semifinals? As someone said to me, it seems wrong that Josh Crusoe never got to play at UNH, and it still bothers me. But that moment was difficult, bittersweet. In that moment, we didn't say too much to each other. It was just thank you and thank you. And for Josh Crusoe to thank me, I appreciate it, but all the gratitude goes the other way. It was an honor to coach him, the best basketball player Nashua South's ever had. No matter the situation, the 18th game of the season, if you don't make the tournament, the quarters, the prelims, whatever it is, it's abrupt. You're in here, this very room at halftime, and you're game planning and adapting, and all right, here's what we're going to do. And then real time, 30, 35 minutes later, you're back in here and it's over. It is abrupt, and that's the harsh reality of it, especially when you consider the great group of seniors we had. That's the hardest part. Do I miss going to practice every day? Of course. As exhausting as the season is. Love to be out there right now, even though the season is officially over for everyone. But as I had mentioned, when I found out that a bunch of kids, as exhausted as we all were, as disappointed as we were, several kids went together and hung out and watched the Bedford-Wyndham game that night, that tells me it was a successful season in the sense that we had a great group of kids, the camaraderie was there, they enjoyed each other's company, and they didn't want it to end. And certainly, there's no shame in losing a 4-5 game in the quarters, even though it was at home against a very good team. Of course, we wanted to play in the semis and beyond, but the regular season was certainly a success, and we harped on that, and the kids believe that, and they know that. Disappointed, certainly. Wanted more, absolutely. The what ifs. But when we can take a step back, now that we're however many days removed from it, can look at it and say it really was a fantastic year.
We had like a great regular season, a lot of like individual accomplishments, but what I would take away most is just like playing with like the senior class. Like they're an awesome group of guys. That was what was like the most sad, seeing them come off the court for the last time.
Obviously disappointed because we didn't achieve the goal that we wanted, and something that I've been chasing ever since I stepped foot in here. So it's definitely like a tough pill to swallow, and it stings going out on the home floor. But like you said, it was Coach Mass says all the time. It was that loss doesn't define our entire season. I mean, we had some big moments. We beat Portsmouth, ended their win streak. I mean, when we beat Exeter the first time, they were on like an 11-game win streak. So we had some big wins. The game versus North here was big. Alvern. We played some big time games, and it was just, it's more about just like the journey, and just we all bonded together, and yeah, it's gonna definitely sting for a while. But yeah, it was disappointing that we lost, but it was probably my most fun season I've had here. And what it's kind of made me to like off the floor. Like it's really like I like found myself really like involved in the community, and like I wouldn't, yeah, you can say giving back, but just like being a part of something that feels like a family for the past 4 years, and just having fun, and win or lose. I mean, you can learn lessons from everything. But just like you said, getting knocked out in the semifinals my sophomore year, that was a moment where it was like I'd do anything to get back here. Like that was like that game where we lost to Bedford. It was like, damn, this is like really where you want to be every year, and that what just kind of gave you like an extra drive to just work even harder the next 2 years. I mean, came up short, not the ultimate goal, but it was just kind of, I'd say more about the person I became off the floor was one of the biggest takeaways.
Really anxious. I mean, I'll be working out in the off season, and we'll be doing stuff like summer basketball and football. But definitely really excited. Don't really want to think about the last time I'll play though. But yeah.
They'll be just fine. I think Coach Maz will do a great job, as he always does. And they got Josh Daniel. They got some big time players that play in big time moments. And when you have that, you can go out and beat anyone on every given night. And I can see this year being a lot of similar to last year. I mean, you'll have Portsmouth next year, or Keene, whatever. But I think they can hang right there with anyone with the roster and the kids that they have.
For want of not losing all credibility or people thinking that I'm insane, I would never say, oh, we're going to be fine without Josh Caruso. You cannot lose a player. Well, the player of the year in Mr. Basketball in New Hampshire, irreplaceable. Having said that, and Josh and I have talked about this, he's excited for our prospects next year, knowing he'll be moving on to bigger and better things at St. A's. But at any point, we had 3 sophomores and a junior on the court who all had tremendous seasons. We had younger kids on the bench who, in certain moments, really helped during the season. So we're excited about the prospect of being, if nothing else, under the radar next year. I'm sure we won't get a lot of votes for being in the Final Four conversation, and that's fine for us. We will go do our regular off season. We'll hope individually we get better, and that as a group, in roughly 260 days, we'll be ready to go.
Obviously, he's like best player in the state, all that stuff. But we got a bunch of people who can play basketball. Like, we're not scrubs or anything. like we'll definitely be overlooked. I feel like, but I feel that's good for us, and because the people we have coming back, we're like a bunch of tough kids. We'll make stuff happen.